What exactly is a Canadian experience? So what employers are looking for when they're talking about, do you have a Canadian experience? They're looking at the soft skills. You probably have hard skills from back home. You can do it all, but they're looking at if you're the right fit. How do you handle the conflict resolution? How do you work with the team? How do you manage the workload? How do you interact with the colleagues? Those are all soft skills they're looking for because they're investing the time and energy to develop your skills. So they don't want to spend so much time on developing the soft skills. So you cannot expect that employers should know how the work culture is back home. So you're expected to understand the culture within the company that you want to work for, or sometimes even within the department. Now, keep in mind the culture changes from company to company and department to department. So the hiring managers are really cautious about hiring not the right fit, and that's what they look for. If you prove that you come up with the good soft skills during the interview, when you're answering those questions, when they're asking you the behavioral questions, please list out examples where you've displayed the amazing soft skills you've used back home. Do not discount the fact that you do not have to explain the soft skills at all. That's exactly what they're looking for. So the second step for you to display the Canadian experience is start talking like them. All the industries that you're targeting, please know the internal jargon. What do they use? And sometimes the jargon within the department is completely different as well. I'll share some example. So if you are a sales leader back home or sales manager back home, the title of the job could be something else in Canada. So take a look at it. Maybe the job description is exactly the same, but you might be confused. The title probably is quite different. So take a look at what your industries are using when they are drafting the job descriptions. Try to translate that into the job that you've done, into the task that you've done back home, and try to relate that in employers' mind that that's exactly what you did back home, and it's not going to change the technical aspect of the job you've done back home stays the same. There's no changes in this job descriptions, and you've done 100% of the work requirement exactly the same way. So there are things that you could do when it comes to understanding the Canadian culture. Get to know people who've been living here for a bit. Now that involves not only the family members, that involves someone who's actually has that exposure within the industry that you're targeting in. We do have that human nature of just mingling with our kind of people. You want to interact with the people that you know, you feel comfortable with it. You want to interact with the people who look like you, who talk like you. For instance, you wanted to go and connect with your demographic. But what you want to do is, in order to understand the pure Canadian culture and the work environment, you got to mingle around the same kind of people that you want to be someday. So start exploring and talking in the industry language. So that way the employers are getting a hint of you've started to understand the culture. And that includes talking in Canadian lingo as well. Understand the Canadian lingo. Now, I have a quiz for you. If you've just landed recently, try to go and order a coffee in Tim Hortons. Everybody loves Tim Hortons. Do you know how to order a coffee? You know why I'm asking you that? When you go on team meeting, there's a culture in Canada. Some companies, some managers, they ask you, what kind of coffee do you like? And if you stay there, you have no idea how do you order a coffee. That could be something to think about. So start knowing the Canadian thing that Canadians are used to. That would only help you in long term. So next time, order your coffee right after landing in Tim Hortons, start practicing it. Do you want double or triple? Do you know what that is? And when you're talking about how do you look at the job search, you probably want to volunteer somewhere that you can understand the Canadian culture. That's the best way to get the exposure when it comes to workforce within Canada. If you have a time, please go ahead and volunteer for a couple of hours. That's something you can put it on your resume, so it shows that you know the Canadian culture. Now again, that's where you are going to know how do you interact with the team, how the team functions, and what is expected out of you, and go from there and elaborate that during the phone screening and interview as well. The next step is have a lot of information interviews. Get yourself a mentor, someone like you who came to Canada as a newcomer and understand their perspective when it comes to no Canadian experience. How do they move to that level? Someone that has gone through the same path as you. Try to get the mentor to understand their path so you can see if you could take on some of the tips from their journey. The next step is when you're doing the information interview, get the hiring managers as a mentor and try to understand what do they look for when they are hiring within that particular industry. Is it the certifications that's required? Is it the technical skills that's must have? Is it the soft skills that you can go and sign up for the courses? Do they recommend something they've done it before? Do they recommend to see something on a paper? Try to know your industry and see what else is required for you to keep on learning in Canada. Get the advice from the expert, not from the family members. They have good intention, but they don't know it all. And as much as we love our family and friends, we land in Canada, and if people are telling you that they were rejected 10 times for the same kind of job within the same kind of industry, please ensure that you just take it with a grain of salt. Your career path could be completely different from the other person. Believe in yourself with a can-do attitude, and you will do well. So please stop comparing someone else's journey with your journey. We don't know what they're going through. There are two things you could do. One is just dwell on, okay, employers, they don't know what they were talking about. It's a discrimination. Perhaps there are some hiring managers who are going to use that against you without saying it, or maybe they will toss that resume out when they don't see the Canadian experience. The thing that you could do is on your control. Give it 100%, believe in yourself, talk to the right people, and their journey could be completely different than yours. We teach no Canadian experience barrier within teaching do. Sign up for our classes for job search strategy. One size doesn't fit all, and we'll teach you how do you overcome the Canadian experience barrier.